The view from our hotel here in Valdez. Wow, amazing, huh? Well,
Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, what did you see while you were out there?
We saw seal.
Oh, did you?
Sea lions.
Sea lions and salmon. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
it's a cruise
It's kind of a shame that more people don't live that way.
around in Valdez Bay. That's Stella.
Something on National Geographic or
What's the
somewhere
matter?
that group, they're
Okay.
so they're not.
We are leaving now in Valdez.
So they're still putting it in. I couldn't tell.
Swinging Sound. Altogether, we're going to cover about 60 to 70 miles today on our travels. In that time, we'll try and tell you a little bit about the history of the area that we are cruising around in, as well as a little bit about the different industries that were here in the past and are still around today. And we'll also try and find you as much wildlife as we can. And that'll pretty much show up anywhere at any time. Back then, though, a lot of folks being drawn to Alaska mainly.
That's Aurora Borealis over there.
Salmon, and they saw their northbound empty ships as a money-making opportunity, and they started billing Valdez as the all-American route to the Klondike. Now, they did claim that Valdez was a busy trading town, and the trail from here to the interior was a lot shorter and easier than the one down. A couple different times on our travels here today, not only affecting everything here in South Central Alaska, but all the way down the west coast of North America, and even out to the Hawaiian Islands there.
这真的是躺平了就赢了。啊，他好像是在吃东西呢。对啊，他都是把东西放树上。太会享受了。It's a fairly new boat. We had it built back in 2017 down in Connor, Washington. Overall, it's 90 feet long, about 30 feet wide. Got a couple of 1,200 horse MAN diesel engines pushing this along. It should be making about 24 to 25 knots today, about 26, 27 miles an hour. And with that, it does generate a little bit of wind out, so as you step out, we'll watch your hats there. Bald eagles. The adult bald eagles are probably the easiest thing to spot from a distance, especially with their white heads and tail feathers. Kind of stand out like little light bulbs or golf balls up at the tops of the trees here. But in a lot of areas around here, we can travel fairly close to the shore just because Prince William Sound itself is just one great big glacially carved fjord. carved out during the last ice age by a sheet of ice extending from the Chugach Mountains all the way out to the Gulf of Alaska, which is about 70 miles out from us right now. But as the ice retreated, again, left some fairly deep waterways. We're still in about 400 feet of water right here. With these two fairly close to one another, it's probably a pretty good bet that they're a mated pair. Eagles do mate for life, and they're fairly territorial during the summer months. So. But to tell which one's male and female is very difficult. They pretty much look identical, except for the female's going to be a little bit bigger than the male, and well, she'll have one more tail feather. So if you can pick out which one's which, you're doing pretty well. This level. There's also a large dock that extended out to about where we are now to load the ore onto ships to head south for further processing.
This is a
and
silver
other
mine.
on the beach, they had a bunkhouse and a cookhouse to house and feed the 100+ people that worked out here. Even had a little 5-cent mill out here to process the gold away from low sea level. And the mine was very active all the way up until 1942. At that time, though, it was shut down because of World War II, a little thing called the Strategic Minerals Act, and it never reopened after that. In a way, that was very fortunate. The reason we don't see a lot of the mine here today is because of that earthquake again in 1964. This gravel beach out in front of us is actually a terminal moraine for a glacier. It's very steep off the front of it here, and, well, very loose. Our shoreline, and then rolled back over here and went up the hill about 175 feet. And, well, as you can see, it pretty much wiped the mine off. I believe we have a few photos on the boat here of the mine before it got destroyed, but again, unfortunately nobody was out here. There was a little bit of a renewed effort out here about 12 years ago. They did survey work in the claim above sea level, and well, but unfortunately, the remains of the cliff mine are one of the very, very few things that we can kind of point to for the original mining effort out here. Like most things, once they were abandoned or shut down, lack of maintenance and heavy snow loads that we get here pretty much crush everything down to the ground pretty quickly. It's grown over fairly fast as well. That's what eventually compresses down and makes glacier ice. And because of it, we have a lot of glaciers. In fact, the Chugach Range is the most heavily glaciated area anywhere in Alaska. And we'll definitely get up close and personal with some glacier ice once we get out and around Columbia. That little harbor seal swimming along out in front of us there as well. Kind of looks like a little baseball cap moving through the water.
Coming off the right side.
Swim down.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
I'm looking at these little caves. No, I don't see this.
It's in the front of the boat.
Yeah. Much more interested in that long waterfall. I'm standing right in front of a woman here.
Well, let's kind of keep working our way forward here very slowly. There's another eagle sitting in a tree ahead of us that's down a little bit lower and well, a little bit more out in the open as well. So
Oh yes,
can't
I
get
can
better
see
look
it.
at this
There
one
is
than
an
the
eagle.
last couple.
I'm looking for the eagle. I know it's there. I see it with my eye, but I don't see it on the camera. Oh, there it is. No, is that it? No. Oh, there. I was too low. There's the eagle.
I'm not just finding it on the camera, isn't that funny? How weird.
I'm a fall. Wow. Oh my God. Look at the mist.
Another stellar sea lion.
A seal right off the
Yeah, working the shallows there, trying to get a few silvers.
Oh, and there's another one right
Yeah,
by the
everything
rocks.
right now being pretty well
Oh,
fed
there's
with
one by the
fish coming
rocks.
back.
Oh, yeah, I
Another
moved
eagle
back
here
there
off
and
the point watching for fish.
missed them both.
Another eagle. Oh, where did he go?
I'm
Right
not
there.
good with the phone at finding them. I see him with my bare eyes.
I know. It's right in front of us.
Well, I don't have my glasses on. That's not helping.
Between 20 and 40 degrees usually. But these falls, they don't see a lot of use out here. The ones that you passed out in Keystone Canyon, they do see a lot of use during the winter months. Once they get a good sheet of ice over them. There's a lot of ice climbing that goes on out there.
Ice
They have a
what?
little festival in February. Have different challenges up and down the falls out there.
Wow.
These are all seals.
Now again, these are all stellar sea lions. Stellar sea lions, they do have a close cousin further down the coastline called a California sea lion that more people are familiar with as they get a little bit more press down there, taking over some of the docks and such. But the two are quite different animals. These stellar sea lions are more of a light tan color, especially when they're dry, but when they're wet, they're going to look a lot darker, a lot slicker overall.
Stellar
Now,
sea
the stellar
lions.
sea lions are also much larger than their cousins. Full-grown male stellar sea lions can be 12 feet long and over 2,000 pounds. The females, though, are more of a slimmer, trimmer, 600 to 700 pounds.
They're singing.
And if you're outside, you can also hear they make a very distinctive growling noise rather than bark.
These are called stellar sea lions. And they're larger than the California sea lions.
And again, this is what they term as a haul-out area. Basically, fancy way to say it's big range form. The breeding grounds or the rookeries are located a lot further away. The closest rookery to us is about 57 miles off to our left, just outside the sound, at Seal Rocks. All the animals that we see here are all juvenile males and juvenile females.
You can see the
The
water.
larger ones that you do see out here, though, these are what the scientists politely refer to as unsuccessful males. They're just not quite big enough or aggressive enough to hold territory.
There's a puffin here. Oh, there it is.
Of all glaciers in Alaska don't have a name.
Okay.
Oh, really? Oh.
There's only about 10% of them actually have a name, and that's just because that we have such the perfect recipe for glaciers all across the Chugach mountain range, which is these mountains up here, which can go from about 3 to 13,000 feet. Now at that height, at that elevation, it gets so cold up there all year long that if there's precipitation, it's gonna be raining down here, but it's gonna be snowing up there.
Right.
Well, all that snow never melts all year long, or most of it doesn't. So you get a lot of it that just stays up there, and that's what creates the glacier. It's just snowfall after snowfall after snowfall compresses down into glacier ice. The top layers get so heavy, they just push and compact the bottom layers down into glacier ice. Now once you get a lot of it, it then forms a glacier or glacial ice. Then it starts to move downhill because gravity is now pulling it downhill. And it's also eventually it'll get pushed forward by new ice that's being formed eventually. So it's being pushed downhill and pulled downhill by two different forces. Now eventually it'll get down to the tidewaters, or the ocean water, which is what Columbia Glacier is. It's called a tidewater glacier because it touches the tidewaters. And it'll eventually, the whole time while it's moving downhill, it's also bulldozing everything that's not bedrock. Anything that's not solid ground, earth, dirt, sediments, trees, anything like that is going to be bulldozed out in front of it, and that's what creates what we call a moraine. Now, a moraine is just this giant earthen dam made out of all of that earth and dirt and trees and all of that sediment that creates that moraine. And it literally just looks like a dam out in front of the glacier that goes from end to end. And you don't get a lot of spill off the sides because usually glaciers are in a valley of some sort. And as they're doing that, they're just carving everything out. So all the rocks that you'll see up in the bay out here, they're going to look very smooth. They're going to look very carved out. Not going to be a lot of vegetation there just yet because Columbia just recently started its retreat, its first ever retreat back in 1980. So the vegetation is still trying to come back into the area. And it has started to, but it hasn't quite gotten down to the shoreline way up in the bay. M-O-R-A-I-N.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, the moraine actually has an important job to do when it finally gets down to the ocean water. The moraine protects the glacier from the seawater. Because, according to the laws of physics, and just everything we know, any ice that is in a liquid is going to melt 20 times faster because the laws of heat transfer in a liquid. Now, that's really scientific, but that basically means that heat will transfer faster in a liquid than it will in air. So to put it to you this way, if you preheat your oven to 400 degrees and you stick your hand inside without touching anything, is it going to hurt? No? What if you took the same temperature of water and put your hand in that? It's going to hurt, right? But it's the same temperature, so why does it hurt? Well, that's because all the heat that's in the water, as soon as you put your hand in there, it goes right into your hand immediately. But the air in the oven, just the heat energy just kind of sits there floating around your hand. You still feel it, and it'll slowly transfer into your hand eventually. But you're not going to burn yourself right away.
More ice here.
Well, that's the same thing with Columbia Glacier.
About that is,
all that ice, when it goes into the tidewaters, if it doesn't have the protection of the moraine, it's going to start melting 20 times faster. So it's not going to be able to push out its tidewaters.
To steady yourself.
So that moraine acts as a protective layer in front of the glacier so that it can push out into the ocean.
But also, when you look at the ice, do bear in mind you're only seeing a very small percentage of it.
Now, eventually, the glacier will start a retreat phase, eventually, but that'll happen after the glacier has pushed that moraine to its farthest point that it can. That moraine keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, just like the glacier does as it moves downhill. It's just getting bigger and bigger. But eventually, the moraine gets too large to push anymore, so the glacier kind of slowly comes to a halt, and instead of getting longer, will get taller. So the moraine then acts like a dam for the ice. Still acting as protection, but instead now it's also acting as a dam, so the ice can't go forward, but instead gets taller. It's still ice coming down from the top of the mountains.
There is no
Now,
pigmentation to
eventually,
the glacier
the
ice.
seawater
And
will
glacier
find a
ice,
way to
again, is
get
just
around the
snow that's been
moraine,
compressed
over the
into
moraine, or
ice, which
something or
is,
other
again,
like
just
that,
water.
to touch the ice
And all the
directly.
natural refractive
And that's when the
properties of
glacier will
water
start
molecule
melting 20
only
times
allow the
faster
blue
than
light wave to
normal,
refract back
and
through
it'll
it.
start a retreat
So the
phase. Now, the
clearest,
glacier's not actually
densest
going to
pieces
move
of ice with
backwards,
the
but it's
least
going
amount
to
of
break
air will
off the
give you the
front, kind of like
brightest
a
blue
conveyor
color
belt.
refracting back
So the
through
front
it.
of the glacier will break off
Especially a
and
day
melt
like
off
today.
really
The
fast.
clouds above us
The
are
whole,
actually
the whole
filtering the
while
light
it's still
before it even
moving
gets to the ice.
downhill
So the
from
ice
the
is
tops of the
gonna be a
mountains
little
where
bluer
new ice
today
is being
overall.
made. But now it's in a retreat
But the
phase
white
because it's
frostier ice is just ice
losing
with
more ice than it
air
can
in
make.
Either
So
it
it's
did
going to
not get
back up.
compressed as tightly
Now,
as some
since
pieces,
its start of
or
its
it's been
retreat in
melting air
1980,
longer.
Columbia Glacier
And
has
by
retreated
melting
about
air, it actually
15
melts
miles.
slower. Those ice crystals break
Now,
apart from
scientists
one
have
another
said
and
that
lose their
it will
mass
continue to
refractive
retreat
property
up
in the
until the
little air
point
gap
where
in
it will
between.
be away from the seawater
So
and
we see all
it will
kinds of
slowly
different
come to
colors
a
and shapes and
stable
sizes up
point
here.
in its life cycle where it won't
Now
be
we're still a long
retreating
way
or
away
it
from
won't
the
be
glacier.
advancing
The
either.
glacier itself,
When we
where
were,
we sit, is still about
coming
another
down there, we saw
14 and a half, 15 miles out ahead of
like
us.
a little mini
The
glacier,
Columbia
but it
Glacier,
wasn't going
it
down.
is the second largest tidewater glacier in America.
Probably
It stood out here, the ice straight above the water. Only about 50 to 80 feet of ice in the water, sitting there.
Little seal out by that one too.
A lot of them, yeah.
Now he died.
Hear the ice cracking?
Sure did. I'm not sure where that glacier is, but it must be ahead. Oh, it's
You want to
here.
go
Look
up
at
first?
how blue those look like.
No.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Excuse us.
Come on, go ahead.
Every time we speed up,
Here slowed the glacier's flow rate enough to where it could keep up with what it was losing, but late 2007, when it made it around the corner here to the right, and that was enough to upset the balance, and it kind of kept... They kind of look like little brown or tan sausages laying out there on the ice. Those are harbor seals.
This is the Columbia Glacier. Close to the Columbia Glacier. Very close.
It wasn't just to go somewhere.
Oh, I see. Because, yeah, you can see how that would be popular too. Like, you know, you go over that glacier. Plus, just seeing those like big icebergs from the air is incredible too.
Sure.
Of course, a little shorter over on the right-hand side, but below the water, again, there's another 400 to 600 feet of ice up there. And that's why you see some of these bigger pieces kind of floating around out here. They break free from below water and kind of bob to the surface to maintain a lot of mass and size. Now, they're not really sure what caused Columbia Glacier to outlast all the others before retreating for its first time, and they're really not sure what kicked it off on its retreat. Unfortunately, the study of glaciers didn't start until the late 1800s, and by that point, all the other tidewater glaciers. Slowly to our left here. We don't know where you found them.
Right here.
We have ice all around
Portside,
us.
we're doing a little ice fishing for us as well while we're here. Baldy just taking off the beach there and heading out ahead of us there.
Oh, way on top. Yes. Yes, Papa. Okay.
The tour with the local guide. We'll have just a little bit of time at the Valdez Museum, and then we'll go directly to the airport. I got your information about the flight today, and I will check everyone in. Apparently it's a tiny little airport, and you check in 90 minutes before your flight. The company will take care of the luggage fee for you for your large bag, and I'm told though that the airplane is pretty small, so if you're the space underneath the seat.
C'est balèze.
push this wagon over there.
She's got a huge house.
Well, she used to run the golf course there on Farmers Loop. She used to run the restaurant.
It takes those.
And that closed down. I'm hoping.
Hey, you could have. If we were catching, you could have cut them. And you have to adjust it and bait and whatnot.
Usually there's not quite a line for paying. Yeah, I often go that route. Yeah, it's the way to go. Yeah. Bring drum. All right. So,
Oh, wow. So you
Ran. All right, you guys. I'm out of here. All right. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Are you going to be down at the boat for a while?
Yeah, for just a little while. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be back.
that was
Okay. All right, you guys.
Thank you for everything.
I'll see you here shortly.
They lunch there.